Now we're multiplying or dividing fractions. In this case, we do not need a common denominator. Only when we're adding or subtracting do we need a common denominator. So when I'm multiplying fractions, unlike when there's an equal sign, if this is just a multiplication sign, I'm multiplying straight across. I don't worry about cross multiplying. The only time I cross multiply is if there's an equal sign between my two fractions. So here I can just simply do 5 times 3 and get 15. 6 times 5 and get 30. The last step always with our fractions is to simplify. Substitute this into your Simplify Fraction app on your iPad. Or use your calculator to simplify the fraction. We will want this written as in fraction form though. It starts as a fraction, we write it as a fraction. Don't put this in as a decimal. When I do put this into my Simplify Fraction app, I should get 1/2. That'll be my final answer. If you leave it as 15 over 30, you will not get full credit. Another type is when we only have one fraction. Well, the nice thing is every number can be written as a fraction. Remember, I can write 6 as a fraction by writing it over 1. So this is the same as saying 6 over 1 times 3 over 2. And it works just like the previous problem. It's multiplication. There's no equal sign, so I multiply straight across. 6 times 3 is 18. 1 times 2 is 2. I put this into my Simplify Fraction app, or I just divide 18 divided by 2, and I get 9. My final answer here should be 9. Division is slightly different. It's going to wind up working exactly like multiplication, but there's a first step that we have to do. If I see a division symbol, remember we always want to change that to multiplication. Keep the first fraction exactly as it is every time. Never change the first fraction. It's keep, change, and flip your second fraction. So my second fraction is 1 over 2. I'm going to flip it to 2 over 1. Now it's exactly what these problems were. Division is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. So I'm changing division to multiplication and taking the reciprocal of my second fraction. And I multiply straight across. 2 times 2 is 4. 5 times 1 is 5. Here's my new fraction. I check to make sure it's simplified. 4 over 5 is simplified, so that's my final answer. And very similar to multiplication, there's times where I have to write my whole number as a fraction before I can do anything else. So my first step here is going to be to take 4/3. I'm just going to write this out as a fraction. 4 is 4 over 1. It's going to be very helpful to take that step. If you try to skip steps here, that's where you're going to make your mistakes. So my first step here is to rewrite this so both terms are fractions. Sometimes it'll be the first term that's a whole number and you have to write that as a fraction. Sometimes it's the second term. Make sure you take this first step here every time. Right? My second step is going to be what we did over here. Keep your first fraction the same. Change division to multiplication. Flip your second fraction, the reciprocal of your second fraction. It's now a multiplication problem like numbers 1 and 2 here. And we multiply across. 4 times 1 is 4. 3 times 4 is 12. I check to see if it's simplified. This one is not simplified. So I use my Simplify Fraction app to simplify this to 1/3, and that's my final answer.